Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, fellow veterans, and everyone here today, good morning. I'd like to start by recognizing two people very special to me. During our career, my wife Monica raised our three kids, helped me care for countless numbers of Marines and their families, and kept the home fires burning despite moving more than 20 times during that career. She has the true heart of a Marine. And my son Ingo, Colonel Ingo McLean, is currently serving our country on active duty, and I couldn't be prouder. Oliver Wendell Holmes, a Civil War veteran, once wrote, "Lord, bid war's trumpet cease and fold the whole world in peace." As we all know, that has yet to happen. And when the terrible guns of the First World War finally fell silent, at the 11th hour, on the 11th day of the 11th month of 1918, a new generation of veterans appeared within the United States and several other countries worldwide. Armistice Days celebrations were held just after that, so that we would never forget the sacrifices made. But the Great War, the war to end all war, was not that at all. And it was followed shortly thereafter by the Second World War, by Korea, by Vietnam, by Grenada, by Lebanon, by Panama, and by any of the other activities, engagements that we've had in the Middle East. And each one of those has produced yet another generation of veterans. But today's veterans have some problems that did not seem to affect those veterans that went before them. Maybe those problems didn't exist before. We don't know. But the fact of the matter is, those problems are grave, and those veterans do suffer. Did you know, for example, that they are so grave that every day, every single day, 22 veterans and one active duty service member commit suicide? Those are sobering statistics, and having been involved with situations like those personally, I can tell you that they're absolutely gut-wrenching. So just how many veterans are we talking about? How many are amongst us? A lot here today. Holmes County population has a veteran population of about 3.7%. It's about 7% for the state of Ohio, and it's about 7% in the United States. So that makes us actually an especially small minority, which makes it all that much more difficult for those of us who need to unload some emotional baggage on someone else to find a friendly ear. And when you go looking for one nowadays, that veteran just might not be able to find it. One of the things that makes that very difficult for veterans is that we have, amongst our military experiences, our own unique language. Not too many people speak that language. And I think that that inability contributes to the shockingly high suicide rate that I just talked about. Let's put that into perspective for a second. In the 1960 census, of all the males in the United States, 40% were veterans. That meant that, for example, during the construction boom that followed the Second World War, veterans were on job sites having swapping war stories that took place, say, in England, in France, in Germany, in Saipan, Tinian, Guam. or they were actually trading jabs because of comments directed against Patton's Third Army, or the 7th Fleet, or the 7th Bombardment Group, or the 1st Marine Division. The fact is, they were veterans who were able to engage with each other. They were able to talk about their experiences with someone who had empathy and understanding for that. Now, if we fast forward to today, 93% of us won't be able to understand that language. And it's a very unique one. 93%. So that means that when a vet who's having a problem speaks to someone about it and says that a situation happened just after he and his unit departed, left the wire at Odark 30, headed out to Checkpoint Alpha, where they met up with their CSSE, then moved out to Checkpoint Tango, where before they even had a chance to set up their HT-360, they started taking fire from an unknown number of Alibabas, or Surges, or Tangos. And it was because of that he got his war injury. Sadly, that just fell on deaf ears for a lot of people because they simply couldn't understand that conversation. And it is because of that lack, that difference of perspective, that as we hang up our battle rattle for the last time, and we march out that front gate so nervously, and we head toward the 1st Civilian Division, which is what we call life in the civilian sector, we're a little bit concerned about what the outcome is going to be. The point is, ladies and gentlemen, your turnout here today is a genuine shot in the arm for veterans and their families. By simply being here, you're showing a sincere appreciation for those who took an oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States. For those of us who left our homes and families and safety repeatedly when called on to do so. When I asked my wife to join me here today, both of us had to realize that, number one, this event wasn't going to separate us for 6 months to a year, and number two, it was highly unlikely that I was going to be shot at, especially since this event is taking place here on the courthouse lawn. But today we honor, we celebrate all of America's veterans, living or dead. And maybe our presence here today, hopefully, it'll be enough to convince one possibly confused or disenchanted veteran not to take his or her own life at the end of the day. Everyone here has the possibility and the opportunity to make a positive impact on the life of the veteran and that of the veteran community. And I'd like to close today with a quote from an anonymous author that I think is very appropriate for the day. For those who fought on blood-soaked landscape in raging waters or darkened skies, those who stepped forward without hesitation to sacrifice your lives for ours, those who through terror and fear and the horrors of the unknown exemplified the strength and bravery of the human spirit. For my grandfathers and my grandmothers, my great aunts and uncles, for those old soldiers still standing proudly before the monuments, and those soldiers resigned to the pages of history, for those who continue to fight, whether they believe in the cause or are just praying for the day they may return home to their families, and especially for those whose families will never see them again. For all our veterans, thank you.